We're live, guys.
Friends, we're learning Tanya, and we are evolving. We're evolving the study of Tanya. We'll have to find them. They're on campus somewhere. They might be in the library. We should put them all together in one place. But the book of Tanya, friends, is I was meditating this morning how we live in a world of consciousness where our greatest gift as human beings is our consciousness. Think about it. What's the difference in a human being and an animal? An animal is just instinctive. But a human being is aware. We have the power to override our natural instinct. We can do things that are selfless. We can go above and beyond the call of duty. I'm not sure if animals really do that, unless it's maybe their instinct to just be kind or caring. I never knew that animals attack mercilessly. I always thought that animals attack for practical purposes. But somebody in this class said something about a wolf, I think, that it will attack 100 chickens just for no good reason. Did somebody say that in this class? No? Okay. So you don't normally, I was wondering about that because you don't normally find animals being cruel. You can find cruel animals. Humans, you can find them cruel. Humans, you can find them kind and compassionate. Do you know?
And there's humans that attack mercilessly.
Of course.
Right.
He doesn't even know how to pronounce the word. So a study came out the other day. 22 of the wealthiest Americans. 25, is it? Was 25 of the wealthiest billionaires?
Well,
I see a name on the list. So
25 of the wealthiest
Jewish billionaires.
No, not George.
25 of the wealthiest philanthropists.
Philanthropists, that's what it was.
13 are Jewish.
That's right.
Yeah.
But
only one.
They give a small fraction of their philanthropy to Jewish causes.
Unbelievable.
So like Zuckerberg gave away $300 million last year, 1 million to a Jewish cause.
So, that's pretty good, 1 million. But $28 billion. $28 billion was given from a group of 22 couples. Can you imagine? 25 couples. Can you imagine $28 billion? That's like 98% of the charity that was given out last year, right? Came from 25 couples. Now, of those 25 couples, I just want you to realize, just to reflect on this for a moment, what? Half of them are Jewish. Okay, I just want you to think about that for a moment. For every Jew in the world today that's alive, there are 4,000 Gentiles. We're outnumbered 4,000 to 1. Just do the math. 8 billion Gentiles to 20 million Jews. That's exaggerate, okay? 20 million Jews. Do the math. I think the math is 4,000 to 1, right? So, what's 4,000 times 20 million? Sounds to me like 8 billion, right? Add 3 zeros. So think about that for a moment. We're outnumbered 4,000 to 1, right? Yet we are 52% or 53% of the most wealthiest people in the country. Is that not like out of proportion?
But look at the Nobel Peace
Yeah.
Prizes.
So right. So
making a case for what?
I'm making a case for God. I'm making a case, but where I'm really going with this, where I'm really going with this, friends, is like this. This is where I'm going. Where I'm really going is that people are capable of incredible good. That's what I'm going. Incredible good. Where 25 couples, 50 people, donated $28 billion to charity. Yes, it's tragic. Only one of them made a significant gifts to Jewish causes. Was the Schustermans from Tulsa, Oklahoma. But look at this. I mean, people that are giving. This is the giving pledge, right?
There was a guy from the JNF yesterday at Sophie's house with a woman who was the refusing. And he said that they needed to raise $150,000 to build 5 bomb shelters in Israel, in one of the areas that was subjected to a lot of the missiles. And a non-Jewish friend of his said to him, "You people are amazing." He said, "You raise money so quick." And the Jewish guy said to the non-Jew, he says, "Your problem is you raise it $10 at a time. $10 from this one, $15 from this." He said, we raised $150,000.
5 people.
We got $15,000 per person
Right.
in 2 days.
Right.
And we
Right.
were done.
But those were pledges.
Yeah, remember, remember the thief who broke into the shul. He ran away with $2 million in pledges. So back to Tanya is that we find that human beings are capable of extraordinary good and extraordinary evil, right? And that's what we're gonna start off Tanya chapter 1 with today. Where the Alter Rebbe is gonna go. Chapter 1. We're done. We're done the intro. So
I hear a little.
we're starting on page 3. No, page 1. Yeah, page 1.
Chapter 1, page 1.
So where we're going to start off with is the probing of man's essential core character. In a probe, how do you view yourself? Do you view yourself as essentially perfect? Or do you view yourself as essentially flawed? Is a zebra white with black stripes? Or is the zebra black with white stripes?
Depends if Black Lives Matter.
Black lines matter.
It's important.
Listen, we're live. You got to be careful with it.
So but truly, the Christians, if I'm not mistaken, view human being as naturally flawed. I think they call it original sin. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but it sounds like we messed up early on.
Original sin goes back to Adam and Eve. That's the original sin.
Right. So that means we're constantly in catch-up mode. Like we're constantly trying to fix something. I think, again, I'm no expert in Christianity, but in Judaism, what is the approach of Torah? Think about this, folks. What do you think? What do you think is the approach of Torah?
We're souls from God. So essentially,
So that part is always good.
exactly.
So far, we've had about 5 unanswered questions.
Welcome to Tanya.
Pay attention.
So you said the first one you said is souls of a piece of God. Is that what you said?
So original sin is the Christian doctrine that holds that humans, through the fact of birth, inherit a tainted nature in need of regeneration and a proclivity to sinful conduct.
What's sinful?
Does that mean that you're rotten at the core, or that you just have?
Adam and Eve.
It sounds like you're on the court.
It sounds like you're rotten at the core, but it might mean that you just have inner demons. I'm not sure. Yeah. Anyways, somebody here said something about souls being a piece of God. You're cheating because you're quoting Tanya chapter 2,
Yeah.
right? So
We're not cheating.
This is us.
Wait, we can
This is
comment.
us.
No,
Yeah.
We took this 3 years ago.
Yeah.
good. So you remember something.
We remember.
Wait, he has to start the class off with, like he said to a jury, put away all your bias, everything you already know.
No, it's okay. It's
Come
okay.
in here with
It's okay.
empty
We're not
minds.
learning Tanya again. We're learning Tanya deeper. And where you finished last time is where we're starting this time. So this is good.
Okay.
So you're not really cheating.
We're building on the shoulders of giants.
What is Likutei Amarim?
Oh, well, we did that in the title page. Should we go back to the title page? Likutei Amarim means a collection of sayings, of teachings. Remember, in the humility of the Alter Rebbe, he called the book, he didn't call it God's gift to mankind. He didn't call it the greatest book the world has ever seen. He called it a collection of sayings, right? Okay. So I'd like to draw your attention to the Hebrew word for repentance versus the English word for repentance. So Hebrew word is teshuvah, which means return. The English word is repent. To repent means to change, to become something that you're not. To return means to go back.
You were there. You were there.
And that to me is expressive of where we're going in Tanya. It's expressive of the Alter Rebbe validating our core so that we will begin to perceive every misdemeanor and bad choice as a violation of our true identity, as opposed to an expression of it, right? So, but it's going to take us time to build that case. I'm envisioning. So that's a very key point here. The Alter Rebbe begins the Tanya with a quote from the Gemara. The Gemara Nida, end of chapter 3. It would be nice to find it, but I don't have it right now. So the Gemara Nida, end of chapter 3. Now the word Tanya means, we have learned specifically, when you quote a Mishnah, you say Tana. When you quote a Brisa, you say Tanya. What's a Mishnah? What's a Brisa? A Mishnah is the body of oral Torah, is the core of the oral Torah. We've discussed this in classes earlier this week, Booksmart, that the essence of oral Torah is the Mishnah, but anything which was ancillary to the core canon of oral Torah is tangential, is called a Brisa. The word Brisa means tangential, means outside, right? So there were manuscripts of the core, and then there were manuscripts that were supplementary, like appendix. So that's the Brisa. So whenever you quote a Brisa, it's Tanya. When you quote a Mishnah, it's Tana. It's just a way to quote. It's just a matter of referencing, right? So it's just interesting. The book is called Tanya. It's interesting that the book is called Tanya because once again it doubles down in that humility to say, by naming the book Tanya, he's saying this is ancillary, this is extra, this is an appendix, this is not the essence. This is just an extra layer of wisdom, not core. Just talks to that same humility. So here in the beginning of Tanya, the Alter Rebbe quotes this brisa which says like this: it has been taught in Nida end of chapter 3 that before a person is born, every person, an oath is administered to him before birth, warning him, quote, be righteous and be not wicked. And even if the whole world tells you that you are righteous, regard yourself as if you were wicked, unquote. Now, we all were made to swear this oath. To swear to be a tzaddik and not to be a rasha, to be righteous and not wicked. And that even if the whole world were to view you as righteous, you still should regard yourself as wicked. Now, this is a very, very interesting oath that we're making over here. Very interesting oath. Good morning. What's so interesting about it is that, the word mashbi'im in Hebrew, remember, every word in Hebrew is precise. No word is by chance. No word is by social consensus, like in all other languages. I'm not sure about Latin. Does Latin, anybody a linguist here? Does Latin have core structure?
No shortishes.
No shortishes.
Yeah, but it's not a quote unquote Semitic language. It doesn't function like.
So it doesn't have the root,
core structure.
the
Right.
shore, the core structure. But it's actually a very holy language. It's very interesting. Greek. Greek is a holy language. It's very interesting. When the Torah is only allowed to be translated into written in Hebrew or in Greek. It's a very interesting discussion about that and why Greek. But
Septuagint.
yeah, that's part of the reason for the Septuagint. Yeah, but there's something to Greek. But anyways, in Hebrew, the word to swear, to make somebody swear, mashbi'im, remember in Hebrew, the vowels are invisible. So that word can also be read, instead of mashbi'im, it could be read as masbi'in. The dot on top of the shin, if the dot is on the right, it's a she. If the dot is on the left, it's an S, right? The way to remember that is that she is always right.
That's right.
She is always right. Okay, so when you look at that word mashbi'im in the brisa, you can also read it with the invisible vowel as masbi'in. What does masbi'in mean? Endowed, or satisfied, or empowered. So you can read it to mean not only does God make you swear this oath, but God actually empowers you with all the necessary tools to be able to achieve it. So instead of feeling a little intimidated by this idea that you have to now swear on the whole, on your becoming a tzaddik, and that every day of your life you're somehow living in sin, in violation of your own word. We love to be people of our word. My word is my bond. And you feel now at a disadvantage every single day that apparently I'm not. You realize that first of all, you have the power. Second of all, a second idea here is that, in the womb, when the child is in the womb, the child is made to swear. The child is studies the whole Torah. Right? You heard about this idea? I'm sure you've heard about it. Let me just renew it. A child in the womb studies the whole Torah. There's an angel teaches him the whole Torah. This is the reason why when a pregnant woman walks into a room, you're supposed to rise, not only to offer her your seat, but also because she carries a Torah scroll within her. Therefore, what happens at birth? The angel flicks the upper lip of the child, which apparently attributed this little klefta, this little thing over here. And Kabbalistically, that's the reason, why the child is crying on the loss of wisdom. But what's the purpose of studying Torah only in order to forget it at birth? It seems like an exercise in futility. The purpose is so that later on in life, when a person is approaching Torah, and for some of us it's at 2 years old, for some of us at 20, and for others it's at 67 years old that you're approaching Torah. And it could seem overwhelming. It could seem like too much. Like, how on earth am I ever going to do this? So you'll notice that when you study Torah, there's a subliminal sense of deja vu, where you feel that you've already somehow experienced. There's a rapport. There's a sense of familiarity that you can't put your finger on. You may want to call it not deja vu, but deja ju, because you've already studied this, and it's for that purpose, to empower you with the courage and the confidence to continue in your Torah study, that you study it before birth, so that it will give you more power to be able to study it further. Now, there's actually a very interesting story that at the Rebbe's bar mitzvah, when the Rebbe was 13 years old, the Rebbe was born in 1902, so this would be 1915, which was one of the most extraordinary years in Chabad history, because in 1915 was the year, 3 years, 1912 to 1915, when the Rebbe Rashab, the fifth Rebbe, delivered the most deepest discourses of all of Chabad Hasidic philosophy. It's called Ayin Beis 72 in the Hebrew date. If you thought V'yadaita was deep, V'yadaita Moskova, V'yadaita is like the intro to what goes on in 72. So it was right around the time of the Rebbe's bar mitzvah, where these powerful, deep ideas were being developed by the Rebbe Rashab. So at his bar mitzvah, which was held in, I believe, was it Dnepropetrovsk in Ukraine, which is where the Rebbe grew up as a child.
Where my family's from.
Your family, cool. So the Rebbe's father, Reb Leivik, the Rebbe's father, whom I went to visit, by the way, last summer, Rabbi Yisrael and I went to visit at Kazakhstan, where he's buried. He was an extraordinary character. But he was a Kabbalist, par none, is that the word?
Bar none.
Bar none.
Or par excellence.
Bar none, par excellence. So at the Rebbe's bar mitzvah, the legend goes, that the Rebbe and his father were locked in the Rebbe's father demanded something from him, and the Rebbe refused. And the Rebbe cried bitter tears. The Rebbe cried. Now, no one really knows what that was about, but I heard a tradition, maybe, I don't know. I've never been able to verify this, but it's just interesting anyways, that what the Rebbe's father demanded from him, and again, this is unverified, is that he demanded from him that now that you're 13 years old and you are now a man, I want you to reaffirm the vow that you made before you were born. Then now, in full consciousness, I want you to vow that you will be a tzaddik and you won't be a rasha, which is the vow at the end of Niddah chapter 3, right? Just a very, very interesting idea here, which we encounter. Yes, Steve?
Because you mentioned the connection to the Greek and a certain element of holiness within Greek, or uniqueness in Greek. This philosophy of being imbued with full knowledge and understanding prior to birth, and then losing it, forgetting it, and then the process of recovery is a process of spiritualization, etc. That's from Plato, developed that in the 5th century. It's called anamnesis. So he said you know everything in the world, everything in being, because he had a belief in God, a certain God, and at the time of birth you forget and educate, because this is his philosophy of learning and education. And as education is reawakening you to that which you
to the wisdom which you already had access to.
So very similar to what.
So you're saying that God endows you with all the wisdom that you need.
Yes.
Fascinating.
Not only all the wisdom you need, all the wisdom that there is in all the wisdom in creation. I would probably say that
in creation,
we have
more than you
access to. More than you can handle.
So you're saying, according to Plato, we actually have the cure to cancer already. We just need to discover it.
You might say that. You may.
Or like Michelangelo says that he doesn't make the sculpture; he just rescues
Yeah.
it.
For
frees it
anybody
from-
who has any gifts, and we all have gifts, we don't feel like they're ours. I mean, we feel like they're from a gift from Hashem.
Well,
Why does the Rabbi refuse his father's request? Humility?
again, I can't verify the story because I would think that the reason is because it's a scary oath to make. It's a very scary oath. That means you can't have a sin, man. That's a scary one, right? Okay, so okay. So he starts off with a question now. This requires to be understood. This brisa, for it contradicts what we learned in Ethics of the Fathers, the Mishnaic dictum, which says, "And be not wicked in your own estimation." So the Mishnah in Ethics of the Fathers says you're not allowed to view yourself as wicked. Why? Well, you're not supposed to. Furthermore, the Hebrew class is over there. He should be coming in any minute.
Okay, sorry.
Furthermore, if a man considers himself to be wicked, he will be grieved at heart and depressed, and he will not be able to serve God joyfully and with a contented heart. You'll be in a bad mood. You'll be demotivated. While if he's not perturbed, and now if you say that if you say that you can you can merge the two, that consider yourself wicked, but don't let it bother you, right? If you choose to say, well, we'll do both. We'll compromise between the two conflicting directives. On the one hand, the Mishnah, the Brisa Nida says to view yourself as wicked, right? But when Ethics of the Father says, don't view yourself as wicked, you'll say, okay, so I won't let it bother me. If that's the case, then you'll reach a state of indifference and apathy, like you won't care anymore. While if he's not perturbed by the self-appraisal, it may lead him to irreverence, God forbid. So it's with this introduction that the Alter Rebbe launches into the probe of man's essential core characters. However, the matter will be understood after a preliminary discussion. He launches now the discussion, which is going to introduce to us 5 different kinds of essential characters of people. We're going to be talking about 2 kinds of tzaddik, 2 kinds of Rasha wicked, and then we're going to be talking about the sandwich, the guy in the middle, right? So there's the higher tzaddik, the lower tzaddik, the higher wicked, the lower wicked, and then we'll be talking about the Beinoni.
So, Rabbi, when I read this, I interpreted it my way, saying that if you consider yourself a tzaddik, you're perfect. There's only one way to go if you're perfect. Meanwhile, if you consider yourself a Rasha, there's only one way to go. If you're tzaddik, you're only going down. If you're a Rasha, you're only going up. That's the way I interpret it.
I wouldn't agree with that because I believe that what you're saying seems to me to be more of a superficial interpretation of a tzaddik, because you're saying that if you're at the top, you can only go down. But the way that Tanya is going to explain it is that the tzaddik is incapable of going down. He doesn't have that proclivity for sin anymore.
It all has to do with ego.
He doesn't have it anymore. He's lost it.
But I'm talking about it. If you consider yourself perfect, that's your ego talking. That's not maybe your inner soul talking.
Okay, well we're not talking about people self-appraising themselves as perfect. You know, there's a core problem with that.
It has to do with the title. What you're saying, are you a good person or a bad person? Are you good or evil?
Right. Well, that's where we're going with this. So
understand.
I would say this, that look, even we'll encounter this very soon, that even the most righteous, like Rabbi, we'll learn about him soon. He was a tzaddik, but he didn't consider himself a tzaddik. He considers himself on the threshold of sin,
He's humble.
right? Because he doesn't have ego and he's truly righteous. It's like I always say, that those who run after honor runs away from them, right? Those that are, those that run after glory, they're missing it. Humility is something. This is what I want to say. Humility is something you can only have until you know that you have it. And with that, I'm going to close. But
That's brilliant.
but this is where we're going today. Where the Tanya is going to be taking us. We're going deep. It's a deep dive down to the seafloor to figure out who we are at the very bottom. We're going to find out those zebra stripes, if they're black or white. Okay, we'll end it over here.
Had to start somewhere.
And did you see Hellman's mayonnaise will no longer be sold in South Africa?